Hey everyone, Genome here, coming to the next episode of my Marvel Strike Force Beginners video series.
I heartily endorse this event or product.
So, today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the Arena Store.
I've been looking forward to this.
And why I think that the Arena Store might be the most important store and overall resource for the newer player as far as progressing in the game. So, as you know, you got to do your daily arenas. Try to do all 5 if you can. Get to the top bracket that you can get because you get more cores that way and more arena currency. Arena currency is fairly easy to come by, enough so that you should be able to at least get 5 shards of a character per day fairly easily with doing the minimum. But it won't be as plentiful as your Blitz currency, so keep that in mind. But the characters in the Arena Store are quite a step above the Blitz characters. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my character screen here, my roster, and go over a couple different categories here. First, I'm going to be talking about the must-haves, and then I'm going to be talking about the nice-to-haves, and then finally, I'm going to be talking about which characters in here are actually good, regardless of whether you need them or not, all right? So it's a little more complicated in this store than maybe some of the other ones, but let's get right into it. So some must-haves. Okay, first and foremost, you got to have Corvus. If you plan on getting Black Order in the future, he's a necessary component. Every member is, and he's a pretty good standalone character on his own too. So, yeah, you need Corvus, but he probably won't be your first farm because Black Order is quite a bit ways down the road, but he is a necessary component. Just want to let you know that. Mordo is absolutely necessary just for the fact that he helps you to unlock Phoenix. That alone makes it worthwhile, and he's actually a pretty vital component, one of the 3 vital components on the Supernatural team. While that team is not Tier 1 or anything anymore, it is still a fairly strong war offense team, and like I said, I've subbed it in for some raids because there's a little bit of sustain to be had there, so they can deal with weaker nodes sometimes, or cleanup. So Mordo is a must-have. Quake is a must-have. She's an awful character, but you need her basically to unlock Ebony Maw. There's really no other reason for her. She's a lot easier to fill in than Yo-Yo, and it means you won't have to spend money to be getting her, so yeah, use her for that. But you used to be pretty good in game, hence why I leveled her when I did. But alright, so there we go. Next on the bat is Crystal. Crystal is valuable for the same reason that Quake is. She's inhuman, and she's used to unlock Ebony Maw. That alone makes her worth the unlock. Maybe not the best character to go for early, kind of like Quake and Corvus, because Inhumans and from them, Ebony Maw is a very late game farm, or actually like lower to mid late game farm. So it's good to plan ahead and start giving her, but there's other more useful characters you get before her. But she is vital. There's only 2 more, actually, believe it or not, in the store, and one of them, I can't stand him, Deadpool, but anyway, it is what it is, and he's a member of X-Force, and because of that, he's used to unlock Doc Ock, so he's one of the easier X-Force guys to farm, so, yep, he's needed for that. And finally, the last of the must-haves is Heimdall. Heimdall should be one of your first farms, actually. Of all of these selections that I just told you about, Heimdall probably should be your first. He is the absolute worst character on his team, the Asgardians, and he's a useless character overall.
That's tough but fair.
But he's required to unlock Black Bolt, and Black Bolt is one of the top 3 early legendaries I think you should be going for. I think it should be in the order of like Shuri, Invisible Woman, whichever one comes first for you there, and then Black Bolt if possible. So yeah, he's a must-have, unfortunately. So that's where it is. So those characters, Corvus, Mordo, Quake, Crystal, Vulture, Heimdall, and Deadpool are must-have characters in the Arena Store. So that's a lot of shards. It's a slow grind in Arena to get these legendaries and stuff unlocked. So yeah, let's go ahead. So that's why I'm like trying to make a video like this to make it easier on yourself, and you don't like beat your head against the wall trying to collect everything. Go in there with a plan. So the next are going to be some of the nice-to-haves, right? These are good characters and/or they are used to unlock a legendary who's no longer top tier. First on the list I'll give you is Juggernaut. Juggernaut is a great standalone tank. Not top tier like say Call or anything like that, but he's really good. And on his team, he's irreplaceable. So, but you can use him on lots of different stuff, but really, he's just good. You know what I mean? And so I consider him really a nice to have. AIM Researcher is another one. A lot of people will leave AIM Researcher off of the AIM teams, but I find for punching up in nodes, campaign nodes specifically, I find AIM Researcher invaluable. And while the fights drag on longer, you got just more sustain. AIM is all about sustain in these campaigns, so I find her extremely useful on nodes like this. And you see the level she's at, like that, it's about as much as I'll ever put into her. But with all my AIM being very similar levels, other than Science at Supreme, she's like in the 60k range or something like that, I was able to clear out some Doom 2 nodes with them. So that just shows that the power they have is way under geared and way under leveled for those nodes. But I think she is a nice to have, but to be honest with you, depending on what you're going to do with AIM though. Drax, nice to have, of course. Well, he also unlocks legendary. That's about the only thing that makes it nice to have. He's not a good tank anymore. He doesn't have the tools to keep up with the game, and he's only really useful for Star-Lord, and Star-Lord's not all that useful. But I mean, if you got credits laying around after more important stuff is had, and you really want Star-Lord, well, there's an option for you. And he's not horrible as an early game tank. He's actually pretty good as an early game tank, but he loses all steam after the early game. Blob, used to unlock Magneto, and unlike a lot of characters that are necessary for teams to unlock legendaries, is actually a good tune, right? He's a really good player, or a good character, excuse me. He's good on 2 teams. He's basically really good on Brotherhood, where he shines the most, and he's also extremely strong on Marauders, which is actually a stronger team than Brotherhood, and he's a really good piece there. A lot of time people will swap out Sabretooth for him. So great character, and used to unlock Magneto, but Magneto's not a top tier legendary anymore, so definitely only a nice to have. Human Torch, solely because if you were going to be looking at war offense teams, you could do a lot worse than Fantastic Four. They're still a great offensive war team, and I didn't realize I had 5 reds on him. Maybe I should just work on him some more, but I really don't use Fantastic Four for anything. So, good character, not used to unlock anything right now, but he is probably the most replaceable character on Fantastic Four, though, so he's kind of on the lower end, honestly, of the nice-to-haves. But if you're going for war offensive teams, there's worse choices than Human Torch. Shield Security is a nice-to-have and pretty integral on any Shield team. He used to have some uses outside of even Shield, but really he's just relegated to that. There's no other good tanks in the game, but he's still pretty strong, an incredibly annoying tank to deal with when you're facing him, and integral to Shield, so that makes him pretty good. Plus, he's used to unlock Iron Man, if you can really call him a legendary. But so there you go. Not too many left. We got this one is very situational, and that's M'Baku. He's one of the worst named characters in the game.
The truth hurts, doesn't it?
His team is trash, but of course they use that team for Chaos Theory, right? And that's how you get gold promotional credits, the easiest way to do it. And some silvers too. So whatever that is worth to you, if you actually plan on working on that hardcore, obviously I'm not with his level. I may kick some more into it this go round, we'll see. But he is important just for that. So once again, depending on how important the Chaos Theory event is to you will dictate how important M'Baku is to you. But other than that, he's trash. And finally, for the nice to haves is the Hydra Armor Guard. This once again goes back to war. Only place where this guy sees any play on defense Red Skull teams. He's an integral piece of that team. So if you plan on leveling that team up, you need Hydra Armor Guard. So, but once again, low on the priority list is the team that does one thing, and it's the team you never even play. makes it extra boring, right? So that is what I would say are the nice to haves. All right. So let's get into finally my overall. Let's talk about characters that you can get in the store that are actually good, not just because they unlock something, but because they're actually good. Corvus is a good to great character. Outside of his team, he's merely good. On his team, he's pretty great, mostly because of his passive, but he brings a couple other things to the table, but really it's his passive that shines. And yeah, it's pretty crazy when you get all the Black Order rolling. So he's a worthy character of farming outside of what he can open up for you, and he doesn't open anything. So Crystal is a good character on her own, much better on a humans team, but once again, a lot of that comes, she does some pretty decent damage actually, but a lot of it is her passive. Basically, the big burst heal is nice to have. It's on auto when you don't have to actually select the heal. It's great. So she's actually a pretty good standalone character who does some decent damage on her own, or especially on an Inhumans team. So also worth the credits. And she, of course, unlocks a legendary, so bonus points there. Jugs is a good character in his own right. It's indispensable on Brotherhood, and a pretty decent plug-and-play tank for a lot of like mid-game teams and that sort of thing, when you're less worried about having the complete A-listers or total team synergy. He can also double in on Supernatural team as a tank. He has the Mystic tag. Doesn't have a Supernatural tag, but at least he has a Mystic, so he gets some buffs there. So just a good character overall. Blob, I mentioned him earlier. He's great on 2 teams. That's a rarity in this game. That's not like an A-lister, right? He's a solid B-lister, if you will, and good character. Once again, a lot of this comes down to passives. He does a lot of stuff automatically, which is nice, but his kit is just overall good. He's not a big damage dealer, but basically everything he does will do some kind of damage too, which is nice. So he does a little bit of chip damage as well, a lot of it AoE, especially strong on, of course, on Brotherhood, but everyone clumped together. But Blob is a good character as well. And finally, Shield Security is probably the least of this little group, but he is still a pretty decent tank, especially on a Shield team. He's integral, and so yeah, he's not awful. Him unlocking Iron Man is just kind of a bonus, I guess, if you consider getting Iron Man a bonus, that is. Yeah, that's it. So basically, everyone I didn't mention on this list is really just not worth your time. Scarlet Witch is not good. She's the worst member of the Supernatural team. Can't wait to replace her. And her kid seems like it would be good, but it just isn't, you know? Vulture is awful as a character, but he's needed because of course, the 2 legendary unlocked. That makes him a must-have, but still, he's just awful. I did mention him, but I just want to mention he's not good. Don't open him thinking he's going to be good for you or anything. Most of the other Sinister Six are much better than him, I believe. Daredevil is useless. There's no use for him anymore because no one works on defenders. Definitely not recommended, and he's not good anywhere. So don't waste any time on him. At one point, I thought about working on defenders because I started a long time ago, but luckily, sense prevailed. Hand Archer isn't used for anything really, and just a bad character. Most of the hand, all the hand is awful right now, so just keep that in mind. And so those are like characters I didn't mention, but yeah. So like as far as overall use in the game, not the most useful store, but for what they can unlock for you to use in this game, it's one of the most useful stores, if not the most useful store for the early game players. So use those credits wisely. So hopefully this helped you a little bit and gave you some idea of where you want to head. You don't know what the future is going to hold for the store. There's always going to be some more additions, but for the current time and at the end of 2020, I think this is the path you should be taking, especially as a newer game player. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video and hopefully it was helpful. And if you did like what you see, please don't forget to like and subscribe. There'll be more of these how-to and beginners type videos coming up, maybe some more advanced ones too here in the near future. So until next time, this is Genome, out.